Hey guys, so today I'm here with Swami Vijay from Ananda Sangha, which is an organization that spreads the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah? All right, thank you. So today I'm here with Swami Vijay, and I'm hoping to get a few questions that I have answered. So thank you for your time. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
So I guess the one question I'm hoping to get answered today, and you have written a book about it, which you've kindly given to me, which is Meditation, the Science and Art of Stillness. So that is my question mainly today, is what is meditation?
What is meditation?
Yeah.
That's a good question and an important one because today meditation means different things to different people. So we find, well, just go on YouTube and look under meditations. And I found a title there once. It was wine and cheese meditation.
Yeah.
And that really made me laugh because, yes, of course, I could philosophize about the idea of bringing a calm, connected consciousness to any activity. The idea that you're going to achieve the goal of meditation through communing with wine and cheese is really not, that's not a high teaching.
Sure.
So Yogananda had a very specific definition of meditation. The single-pointed concentration of the mind on a specific technique of meditation or attribute of spirit or universal consciousness.
Okay.
And the thing to understand is that the purpose of meditation is to concentrate so deeply that you become fully identified with this inner connection to universal reality.
Okay.
It's not a passive state of sitting back and saying, oh, let me just think about things. And some people say, well, I meditate in the forest. Well, if you're sitting and meditating in the forest, does it need to be the forest? It could be your closet.
Okay.
But if you're saying, oh, well, I sit in the forest and then I watch the birds and I relax my mind, and sometimes when I do that, I feel more peaceful and I get new insights. Well, that's a perfectly good thing to do.
Sure.
But it's not what we would define as meditation. Meditation is going inside and entering into an upward flow of stillness, peacefulness, concentration up the spine to the spiritual eye. And you enter into a flow, we say relax up, in and up.
Okay.
And if you're, well, normal relaxation, you say, I'm relaxing, and I go to sleep.
Yeah,
because
sure.
we associate sleep with ultimate relaxation.
Yeah.
But that's relaxing into subconsciousness. What we want to do is relax into superconsciousness. We want to become uplifted. We want to expand our consciousness. And in this interiorized process, we withdraw our energy from the senses, and we begin to experience this upward flow of well-being up to the spiritual eye, and then commune with, ultimately with an infinite consciousness, but with peace, with stillness. And in that stillness, you gain access. Just like if you were trying to get access to the internet, you've got to go through a portal of some kind.
Yeah.
The portal of connection to universal consciousness is inner concentrated stillness. In the Bible it says, be still and know that I am God.
Sure.
And it says, if thine eyes be single, thy body shall be filled with light. So we're trying to connect to that inner consciousness, and the process of meditation is very specific, although many groups teach it differently.
Yeah.
Its purpose is to go within and commune with a greater consciousness potential.
Sure. So you were saying essentially the definition of meditation revolves around that single pointedness.
Single pointed concentration and on the technique or the 8 attributes. So when we say, well, what is divine consciousness?
Yeah.
We would, first of all, yoga doesn't require you to believe in God. Mm-hmm. But it does require you to be open to the idea that there is something greater to connect to.
Sure.
And if there's something greater to connect to, then here's how you do it. And so then we're trying to connect to universal 8 attributes. Got to use the fingers.
Yeah.
Light, sound, power, wisdom, peace, calmness, love, joy. So these are the 8 attributes of universal consciousness. And the way that we enter into that is to stop thinking and enter into the stream of universal connection. And in that we will begin to, the gateway is stillness, peacefulness, but not sleep. We relax up, we concentrate, and eventually the beacon of your concentration becomes so strong that the universe responds.
Okay.
And in that response, you feel an infusion and a connection to as if you're being infused with well-being, peace. Because any combination of the attributes, you can see the inner light, you can hear inner sounds, you can, most importantly, feel absolutely at peace. And then bliss, love. This is a universal consciousness. It's not a person that we're trying to commune to. Yeah. It's infinity itself.
Okay. So meditation, it helps you increase your level of consciousness? Would you say that? Or raises?
Yes. In other words, we use words. I'm becoming uplifted.
Yeah.
I'm increasing. I'm expanding. I expand my consciousness.
Okay.
Rather than the limitations of the body, ego, personality, which most people live in, and that's all they can get.
Okay. And as that process of being uplifted occurs, is that when you start to experience those 8 attributes more, or are those 8 attributes affirmation of the meditation that you've been doing working in your life? Or?
Well, in the beginning, it's an affirmation. You hope that you might feel something.
Yeah.
And now meditation has been studied in the laboratory, and we know that you will feel de-stressed and a little calmer. Mm-hmm. And that's an expectation that if you do these practices, even on a bad day when your mind is active and you feel like nothing's going well in meditation, when you get up from meditation, you'll still feel a little bit of calmness that you didn't previously feel.
Yeah.
But the more advanced you get in meditation, the more you can consciously and quickly go into a state of peacefulness. And then you're developing concentration. So in the practice of meditation, we want to increase our energy. We have to have more energy, and we have more concentration of that energy. And when you learn to have energy and to concentrate, you can apply that not only to meditation, but to any activity. So you'll become a better whatever you're doing.
Yeah, sure.
You access and connect to more of universal potential.
Yeah.
So it says in the beginning, I meditate just to feel a little bit of peace,
sure.
which is a fabulous result.
Yeah, definitely.
But eventually you begin to realize that through this inner connection, you can gain access to universal potential. So now I begin to look at life differently. It says, it's not me against the world, it's me harmonizing with a universal, what is the universe trying to do through this life?
Okay.
And then when I do that, I begin to get opportunities and insights that will help me to do whatever it is that I feel inspired to do. And then you realize that life is your friend. You don't need religion for this. You just need to begin to consciously open yourself up to the possibility that life is my friend. Life hears my thoughts and needs, and then you begin to observe, and it's really quite amazing how life responds to the flow of concentrated thought that goes through you. And the more concentrated you are, the more powerful the universal response.
Okay. So with meditation, we're training ourselves in concentration on that
Inner concentration, yes.
And you were mentioning to me earlier, once we develop that concentration, it's kind of like a magnet, and
yes.
it draws the universal energy around and to help you with a task at hand? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
you know, people talk about how to be creative, how to think outside the box. When we are meditating, we can use the broadcasting system, but we also are awakening the receiving system. Okay. So we broadcast out the spiritual eye and we receive in the heart, and we're broadcasting and receiving at the same time.
Okay.
All the time. So as you, if you have a need, you broadcast it, and then you may get an inspiration. Oh, here's an idea of how to proceed, or you may just observe that life adjusts in many times in quite miraculous ways.
Okay. From talking to you now, and also from yesterday, it seems like with things like meditation, you yourself, you use them in a way to connect with something higher than yourself as well?
Higher meaning greater potential.
Okay.
So we say higher. We use I feel uplifted.
Yeah.
The Yogananda said that the spine and the brain, the spine is the highway to the infinite.
Okay.
And we use this mechanism to connect to this universal reality. We say, I'm uplifted. If I'm unhappy, I'm down.
Yeah.
If I'm happy, I'm up. And these are actual energy flows in the spine.
Okay.
And this is part of the yoga science, is understanding energy and energy flow. Mm-hmm. So when you can raise the energy in your consciousness, you feel uplifted. When you lower that energy through negative thoughts, through negative actions, then you're pulling yourself down.
Okay.
And the body even responds. Nobody ever goes, I feel so happy.
Yeah.
The body is, I feel happy, I'm up.
Yeah.
If I'm sad, then I'm down.
Sure.
And this is, in the same way we experience love as a universal experience. Nobody says, I love you with all my elbow. I love you with my toes.
Yeah, definitely.
You can't do it. I love you with my heart. This is a universal experience. And we're connecting to the core of that universal experience as the process of meditation.
Okay. Yeah. So really delving into your inner being and getting attached, or not attached, sorry, or connected. Yeah, connected is the word I was looking for there. Okay. I do have another question, and it's also something I would like to get clarity on in India with, and hopefully you can help me, which is what is God? And
God is the 8 attributes.
Okay.
So the Judeo-Christian tradition, as the easiest one to generalize about is the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo, and God is an old man, and out of his hand comes Adam, and Adam's a young man, and the reason for this symbology is because in the Bible they read that man is made in God's image, but what's happened is that man has made God in man's image.
Yeah.
So we think that God must look like a man because we look like men.
Sure.
But and so in Christianity, God is an old man with a beard on a throne. Jesus is on his right, and he's got a thunderbolt somewhere there. Mm-hmm. And if you get into trouble, and this is certainly there's different symbologies, but this is a very limited view. God is, you know, by the very nature of the words, God is everywhere. God is everything.
Okay.
But why can't, if God is everywhere, then God must be right here, right now. Why don't I perceive God? Well, and if I take that old view, God is, you know, Zeus. God is a human form. Then of course, God can't be everywhere. God is on Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
But the infinite God, is everywhere, all the time, omniscient, always present, eternal. So now, if God is present, and this is good news for us, because it means that God can't really not be here.
Sure.
God's not here, there is nothing. God is beyond the creation, God has become the creation. So God is here, but I can't perceive it. Well, that's because I'm spiritually blind. Okay. I've turned off my ability to perceive the 8 attributes. Universal peace, universal wisdom, universal power, all of those universal infinite reality, because I've become identified with this body personality. So many people say, well, I'm a soul, I'm a spirit. If I'm spirit, not spirit like a ghost, but spirit like connected to the universal 8 attributes.
Sure.
So that's my reality, but I've become identified with an individual body personality. So Yogananda taught that the soul is in its natural state is infinite spirit. But it's become channeled down and brought into identification with a body personality. And that's the ego.
Okay.
So the soul, the ego, is the soul identified with the body personality. So now I think I'm this name, this body, this age. And some people think that when you die, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Others think that we know we don't take the physical body with us, but we can take this more subtle spirit body. We call it the astral body, the body of light and energy.
Okay.
And that goes on. And then you go on vacation.
Yep.
And you go on a heavenly vacation or the vacation from hell. And then when your vacation's over, you reincarnate into another body.
Okay.
And when you come into this body, you forget.
Okay.
You forget that I am a soul, have lived previously. And some people have vague memories about these things. But then you become fully identified and think, oh, I'm this, and I've forgotten all that.
Okay.
And then in the spiritual life, we're trying to remember. Patanjali, the grandfather of modern yoga, said, one of the ways he described yoga is as smriti, divine memory. We remember that we are spirit.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about God and self, we say self-realization. I am trying to realize not the little ego self,
sure,
but the infinite divine self.
Yeah.
And that is our true home, our true reality. And in meditation, we begin to commune with this universal reality. So when you first come onto the spiritual path, you're this much ego personality identification and this much spirit.
Okay.
You've got positive thoughts and some love.
Sure.
And now you're through raising your consciousness, you're beginning to identify with yourself as peace and joy and love, universal identification.
Okay.
And then gradually your identification shifts when the masters fully identified with themselves as infinite spirit, and in the ego, I just think I'm the ego. I'm fully identified with the ego. Now I'm spirit living, using the ego as a communication system, not as a complete self-identification.
Okay.
So the masters who are one with God, they live through an ego personality, but they're not limited by it.
Okay.
They use it like a beautiful instrument, and they sing a lifetime song of blessing to the world. And what we want to do is begin to sing a more peaceful, joyful, caring, loving song through our lives, and through meditation and yoga practice and the spiritual life, we identify with that universal positive purpose.
Okay.
And we're happier.
Which is, yeah.
Which is a basic, if you can be a little bit happier, you've done a good thing.
Yeah.
And then that happiness goes beyond just a good joke to a sense of blissful connection to all things.
Sure.
And so in India they say that God is Sat Chidanandam, ever existing, ever conscious, ever new bliss. And we in deep meditation, you begin to feel that a bliss awakening in your consciousness until ultimately in the highest state, samadhi, oneness with infinite bliss.
Okay, sounds really nice. Okay, so from what I just heard you say, and to get clarity around what God is, you were mentioning that God is essentially everything, everywhere, and to go by that definition, that would have to mean that we are part of God as well, and you were mentioning from going away from that ego identification to more the soul identification. So essentially, would you say that process from ego to soul identification is the process of getting closer to God? Once you go from here to there, then you
realizing your closeness to God, you're already, you're already a manifestation of God, but a limited expression. But your awareness of that truth grows. And so you grow in your awareness of what's actually truthfully taking place already.
Okay.
You can't be outside of God. Everything is a part of God.
Sure.
But the rocks are a part of God. They're not aware that they're a part of God.
Yeah.
And this is one of the unique things why the human form is the most advanced form of life, is because we are capable, we're self-aware, and we're capable of perceiving of the truth of universal consciousness.
Sure.
The animals are very much in harmony with nature, but they're not capable of perceiving that universal reality.
Sure.
And they're not self-aware. They're intelligent, but not self-aware.
Okay.
So they're acting through the form that they're in, but they're not aware that they're acting through that form. We're acting through this form, and we're aware of it.
Yeah.
And we're capable of being aware of that universal divine consciousness, but we have to consciously choose it. You don't accidentally remember that you are infinite spirit.
Yeah.
You have to begin to seek it. We yearn for a resolution, because life is just up, down, up, down, up, down, happy, sad, or boredom. Yogananda said you become just agonizing monotony. I mean, through the idea of reincarnation, you want to be the king. Great, you can be the king 1,000 times. You'll never find happiness through it. So you'll be happy in moments.
Sure.
But there's always something, after you're the king, it's hard to say, well, maybe I'll be happy if I'm a farmer. Maybe I'll be happy if I'm a singer. Maybe I'll be happy. And the ego never achieves infinite lasting happiness.
Okay.
But the soul's nature is infinite lasting happiness.
Okay.
So we sort of have either hidden or emerging in us an urge to experience more love, more happiness, more well-being. And it's only once we get on that path that we can then consciously grow towards it. And in that process, we begin to evaluate the way that we live and say, these things are helping me to be happy, these things are not helping me. Let me begin to make decisions in life that lead to greater happiness, greater love, greater peace. And then in meditation, we're practicing the most direct communion with that higher consciousness. And then as that inner awareness in meditation develops, you can bring more and more of it back into your everyday life. And so it is God's purpose that there be a creation.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to go, hey, you know, big mistake. Don't do this. But so we're supposed to live and enjoy life, but not in such a way that it leads to suffering. In a way that it leads to joy. And this is why we begin to live more and more consciously, make choices. This choice will lead to greater happiness.
Sure.
This choice will lead to greater suffering. And then some life experiences are very difficult. Accident, health issues, loved ones passing, financial loss, didn't get the promotion, car accident, and the list goes on and on and on. But every life experience, according to Yogananda, is neutral. That means that if you get in a car accident, you can make something good out of it, or you can make something bad out of it.
Okay.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
And then we through our life experiences can free ourselves from things that are limiting us, and consciously enter into consciousness that makes us freer and happier. Yeah,
that's really nice. So it feels like most people, and we're all, I guess, do this to some extent, and probably a lot of us a lot. We are part of God, but this idea of separation is like a huge one.
I mean, it's really done well.
Yeah.
So we're pretty convinced that it's me against the world.
Yeah.
I am separate from this. But even quantum physics today is coming closer and closer to proving that all of life is one unified whole.
Sure.
And that the illusion of separateness is just that, an illusion.
Yeah.
And then we're trying to become unhypnotized. So in the Indian teachings, there's a word that's used, Maya. Maya is the power of illusion. It's an act of God to hypnotize us into thinking that we're individualized, that we're separate.
Sure.
And, that we're tied to the ego separateness. And only gradually do we free ourselves from that, become unhypnotized.
Okay.
And then we begin to see what's actually happening.
Okay.
See, people have opinions. I think that my opinion is right. But the fact is that our opinions, we have no idea if our opinions are right. And this is why spirituality should be more scientific and less I'm right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
And this, we call it the science of yoga. Because there's a methodology that leads to the experience of reality. The experience of truth. What is truth? Truth is that which exactly corresponds to reality. And then you go, well, what is reality? Truth. And you go in a circle.
Yeah.
But eventually what happens, you began to get down to the core of what is actually happening. And how do you know it? Because when you perceive truth in yourself, you know it.
Yeah.
And that's the only way we really know anything, is in our center.
When you can really feel it inside you.
Yes.
That this is the truth.
Yogananda said that within each person in their heart is a point of intuitive perception, and that is the center of everything for you.
Okay.
And it's through the heart connected to the spiritual eye that we have the mechanism for directly perceiving that which is real, truth. And truth is one, but truth is an infinite, ever new expression. So in Western logic, we say there's only one right answer. It's either this or that. And but even then, we have to say, well, there's two sides of the coin. In the world, there's always heat and cold. There's duality. Mm-hmm. But even within, there's only one coin. It has two sides. There's only one life, one creation. But we don't perceive it clearly. Life is like a diamond. It has many facets. Yeah. So many religions or philosophical approaches will say, they look at one facet and they say that's the one truth. The truth. But it's one facet of a diamond which has many different windows into that truth. And in the spiritual life, we say all paths, just like all roads led to Rome. Yeah. All paths, true spiritual paths that connect to love and universal consciousness, they all lead to that one universal consciousness. But you can do that in a wide variety of ways. Yeah. Same principles, expressed in many different languages and styles. So we say, if you're in a room and you want to get out of the room, there could be one or two or three doors, there could be a window, there could be a skylight, and you can go out of that room through any of those different paths, but if you want to get out, you can only go out one of them. So we choose a spiritual path, a style, a spiritual family that feels comfortable to us. Yeah. We don't, it's not that we don't recognize that there are other valid spiritual paths. Sure. But we realize that if you want to get out of the room of limitation, you've got to choose a path and go through that.
Okay, so you're saying there's essentially many paths to God and self-realization, but you'll have to choose the one.
There's many facets, there's many expressions and styles. Yeah. But the one path is through your center. So it's like there's no religion that works that says, no, you don't need to love. Love is immaterial. Mm-hmm. And there are plenty of materialists who say love is, it's just business, only logic. But we all know instinctively that love is the core value of life. Sure. That most people acknowledge. So you've got but this love connection, not the love boat, but the inner universal love connection. Sure. This is also the peace connection, the calmness connection, the wisdom connection, the power connection, the light. All of those 8 attributes come from that same place. When we connect to it, regardless of what language, which prayers, which techniques, and it's true, some techniques are more effective than others. Yep. We were talking earlier about how if you want to dig a trench, and one worker you give them a spoon, the other one you give them a trenching machine. The trenching machine under normal circumstances will go faster. Sure. But in the end, they both are going to the same place there. Okay. So as long as you're genuinely going towards greater love, greater joy, greater peace, sure, then you're on the path to the 8 attributes. Yeah. And if you like to call it anything, that's okay. Okay. The idea that there's only one valid prayer, there's only one name of God, there's only one style that is acceptable to the divine. This is, in the yoga teachings we talk about lower ages and higher ages. Okay. And in the lowest age, the dark age, which we've just come out of, this is a typical limitation of ideas as my way is the only way. Yeah. But in the higher ages, they realize that all roads eventually lead to divine consciousness. Okay. Some of them are, but if you get on a really twisty road, it can go backwards for a while. Yeah. But eventually, as long as you keep moving, you can't not eventually get there. Yeah. But when you're consciously trying to get there, then when you broadcast this to life, then magnetically you draw more efficient and effective opportunities.
Okay.
And so there are, in the school of life, there's first grade, second grade, third grade, fifth grade. There's high school, there's university, and then there's graduate school.
Okay.
And to get a master's degree in the spiritual life, to truly graduate from the wheel of life, death, and rebirth, then you've got to attain that high state. And you can't get there just by accident. You get there by direct communion.
Okay.
And but there's many. You can go to many universities,
Yeah.
and you could say, well, some universities have better programs than others.
Okay.
But you're still in university, and the only way that you really know is through your personal experience.
Okay.
The idea that your club says, yeah, when you die, this good thing's going to happen.
Yeah.
I personally want to find out before that. I don't want to find out that I got on the wrong boat.
Yeah.
This one, actually, I'm sorry to say, this one doesn't really go to your stop.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of love and joy.
Yeah.
And upon that inner experience, with direct communion with universal consciousness, you begin to have faith in that. You really begin to trust. If time and time again the universe supports your life, then you're going, oh, this is way better than the way it was before I stumbled across this.
Sure.
I remember when I was a teenager, before I came onto this spiritual path, and I was not a happy camper. I was not a happy person.
Okay.
And I've observed in my life, and I know many people who've practiced spiritual life, both in our style and other styles.
Sure.
And over the years, it just gets better.
Okay.
And to me, yes, we hope for graduation, but in any case, as long as it just keeps getting better, fuller, more connection, then that's
Okay.
That's knowing that you're doing as much as you can do.
Would you say then, that what's really, really important is that desire to know God?
Yes.
And then from that, sure, there's many paths, but eventually you'll find one that resonates with you, and then that's for you to stick with that path. Yeah.
And it's your interest that draws a universal response. We have interest from previous incarnations. So sometimes when people are young, they're introduced to things. People come to the idea of consciously growing their spirits at different ages.
Yeah.
If you become interested at a young age, it means you've been working on it previously quite energetically. But when we are interested, and we have this energy flow of interest, and maybe we start looking around, just like you're thinking about buying a house. You start looking around. You put out energy. You meet people. You do things, and then stuff happens.
That draws it.
And it's the same. You read some spiritual books. You go to a lecture, and something's going to happen, and it's going to resonate with you, and you go, oh, well, that really attracts me. Let me check it out more completely. And then eventually, if you find a style that really, this is for me, that's great. Finding your spiritual family is hugely beneficial in the spiritual life. That speeds it all up.
Okay.
Gives you the support and the style that's right for you. That's really helpful.
It provides that good environment to stay strong on your path and progress on it.
Yes, and if we go back to this principle of magnetism and the idea that we're trying to create a strong positive magnetism which draws a universal response and causes energy to flow up the spine in a cleansing and expansion consciousness, then if you mix and match too many kinds of magnetism, too many different things, you won't be as focused, it won't be as strong.
Definitely.
And so you could do 10 perfectly good things, which might not be as strong as doing one with complete, absolute dedication.
It's that concentration.
And yes, this is really one of the principles in the spiritual life, is that you've got to, you draw your particular teaching, your path, you recognize it, and sometimes we talk about this in terms of the guru-disciple relationship. But you've got to attune to a particular path and then get intensely into it.
Okay.
And that's the most effective way to accomplish as much as you can.
Okay. Thank you, Swami.
Well,
Swami Vijay. I think we'll leave it at that.
You know, it's
really
it's difficult to encapsulate. There's such a large picture.
Yeah.
There's a huge subject.
Yeah, definitely.
But the most important thing is to realize that we can experience these realities ourselves. We don't have to take anybody else's word for it. We can experience it. If you're interested in knowing if God exists, ask.
Sure.
You close your eyes and you ask the universe, hey, you out there, buddy? And when you do that sincerely, and if you don't get if you want to talk to your best friend and you call them up and they don't answer, do you never call again? No, you keep calling, you know, and you leave a message until you get a response. And everybody eventually gets a response.
Okay, and that's really nice to hear. Yeah.
And then you know that, oh wow, something's going on here. Let me go into it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sounds perfect. Yeah, and a lot of food for thought there, and a lot of wise words, and I'll definitely be taking that on board on my own spiritual path. So thank you. Deeply appreciate it, and looking forward to having more conversations with you
My pleasure.
in the future. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed that, and hoping you got a lot of benefit from those teachings. I'm doing it for your benefit, so I'm really hoping that benefited you. All right, thank you. Until the next video. Cheers.